Okay guys, David with Twice Diecast. Let's see what our Porsche 3 entry is going to be for the Maple Leaf Customs giveaway. The 928's always been one of my favorites just because it's a little bit of an oddball. And I had this really old Hot Wheels laying around, so I got online, started looking for some inspiration on what to do with it. I always like the classic look. I knew I wasn't going to do a whole lot of modifications or anything crazy like that. So I wanted to make a classic stock version of the 928. Pulled up some Google images to see if anything looked really good to me. You know, for me, growing up as a kid, this was always a super cool car, so there was really only one look I thought I was going to end up going with, and that was that beautiful red classic 928. Just a lot of movies had this car in it. Take note of these wheels, by the way. So let's get after it. We're going to go with the red 928. Here is the casting I'm talking about, a really old 1978 casting, so old it's got a metal base. Basically just an egg. It's got about 400 paints of coat on it, it seemed, and it's got this weird rake in the back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look how the rear end sits up higher, and you've got a lot of space in between the tire and the wheel well. And believe it or not, that's even with some larger wheels on the back. So we've got no interior, you'll note that. Although I don't mind, some cars look really cool with that black interior, or glass rather. Super tinted windows. You can see not a lot of details on the casting. It's going to be hard to make this thing look any more realistic than it is. You got some funky metal headlamps that are part of the base, believe it or not. So let's get the drill. We'll start getting it apart, and this thing was pretty easy to take apart. You'll see the hard part comes when we try and put some wheels in it. Here is that interior piece, or lack of, that I was telling you about. These metal bases are a nightmare to get these wheels off. Any customizer will tell you. We got the holes drilled for the screws. Here is my super fancy measuring device to let me know how far I have drilled in to see if I can get a screw in it, and that is deep enough. So we'll go to a drill kit that, or more like a custom 64 diecast kit that I got one time from 164diecast.com, I believe. And they give you the whole kit, including the screws, as you can see right there, as well as a tap. Found some wheels and ended up having to yank the ones that were in the 928 out with a pair of pliers because this thing was not going to let them go. Those metal tabs just will not bend, or I don't know how to do anything with them other than just use some elbow grease to rip the wheels out. Unfortunately, the axles on my replacement wheels were thicker than the ones from Hot Wheels, so we had to get out a little hand tool and open up this gap a little bit more with a grinding wheel. And after that, I was so happy to find these wheels right here. You'll see these look really close to what the original car had. Found these on an old Welly casting. So these 5 spokes don't really roll real well. This will be more of a display car, but what do you guys think? I think these wheels look pretty good compared to what came on the original. Now it's time to get the paint done, and this little clip right here is going to be such a false view of the amount of work it took. Not only did I put it in here in the citrus strip, give it the old double tap the way Andrew does and has taught us all, tap tap. I ended up having to do this about 14 times and had to use a different stripper. While we're waiting on the paint to strip, I found this old 914 rolling around in my shop as well. I had stripped the paint on it and didn't know what to do with it back then. Had some premium wheels from a Hot Wheels, and they looked okay on it. I thought maybe it would be a custom 914. Anyway, back to the 928. Here's what we started with, and here is what I came up with after we got it painted. What do you guys think? I think license plates always add a good bit of realism to a car. Just love how these wheels complement this vehicle. Even though they came off of a Porsche Cayenne, the Welly and this vehicle were just about the same scale. So they work on this car, and you can't really tell that it should be a bigger tire in the back. That wheel well is pretty big. Used Andrew's technique, and I'll show you later, on doing those tail lamps with an X-Acto knife and some Sharpies, and really happy. But what about that 914? Let me show you how that thing turned out. I like how it came out too. You can see my inspiration there in the back. Here is that technique I'm telling you about. If you have trouble with small spaces and painting chrome or doing tail lamps, Andrew taught us one time to scrape the area that you want to be chrome with an X-Acto knife, and you do it like you're just holding a pencil. And so after taking his advice, this is how precise the little areas that I'm going to paint my tail lamps came out. This is after my first pass. I went back and cleaned it up a little, but you can see there's just really no way I would have gotten a chrome Molotow pen to do that exact. So we'll take a look at the 914. You can see I also did the side view mirror there. The 914 that I chose on this one was a Matchbox casting. It was a hard top, so I got out my rotary tool and we made this thing into a convertible. And I really like how it came out. Here's me in the shop. Make sure you always wear your safety goggles when you're using any kind of power tools. Another thing that I figured out on this build was if you take some of this black plastic, like this part of a base, and you rub it against a sanding block, you can actually make like a textured bumper, and it looks more authentic. It's not shiny plastic looking bumpers. So here we go. This is my 914. This is a bonus, and this is really, I actually like this one more than the 928. Okay, you can see here's my inspiration. We've got a 914. You can see the chrome around the back panel there. Here's a convertible version, and I tried to match that. I really love how that roughed up plastic looks like a Targa top. What do you think? The only one I could find had tan interior, so we went with tan interior. I looked online. It has a black dash and tan interior, so that's what we have in this one. And I got to use a 3D printed steering wheel. First one for me to do on a custom build. And if you're asking about these tires, yeah, they are not stock at all. I did find one image online of some custom rims, and I just think how it came out. Here's me explaining a little bit more. Okay, real quickly on the 914, just wanted to point out a few things. Got to use, can you see the steering wheel in here? Maybe not. There you go. That is a 3D printed steering wheel. First time I've used one of those. Shout out to Rodney at RD Custom Designs for that steering wheel. He sent that to me a long time ago. Love the tan interior. Love the simulated Targa top just by scuffing up that glass piece from Matchbox. You can get the effect of it kind of being a textured piece of fabric. You can see that is the same piece of glass that shinier grill or vent is in the back there. Tried to add that little trim around the back. Even roughed up the bumpers too to give them a little bit more of a textured effect on it. So really like how this one came out. Love Andrew for doing this every year. Maple Leaf Customs, I hope you guys are a part of it next year. If you were not this year, such a fantastic thing. Stay tuned for who I give these to. Of course, part of the whole deal is that we give away all these Porsches, and I have got something exciting in the future to show you when I give these to who I'm going to give them to. Until then, this is David at Twice Diecast. Hope you guys have a great day. I will talk to you later.